Hey guys, how you doing? It's Brad from In the Studio with MJ. I found out that there's this little get together in Switzerland talking about the history album, and of course I wasn't invited, but I still had to find out about it somehow. Um, so I believe Uli is very involved in this. Uli's a good friend of mine. I've got a number of friends in Switzerland. It's just a cool place to hang out. I was hoping to be back sometime in 2020, but obviously that's not happening. But I know you're having a party about the history album, and I wanted to just share a couple quick insights about it, if you don't mind. I worked on the history album from January of 1994 until April of 1995, April, May, something like that. A couple quick facts about the history album. It was obviously the follow up to the Dangerous album. We were going to record it in LA, and that's when the 1994 earthquake, the Northridge quake, hit LA, and it totally freaked Michael out, and he wanted to pack up and do the whole project in New York. So that's how we wound up in New York. There's sort of a weird, it's kind of my theory, I'm not saying that it's absolute truth, but different albums sound different. They kind of sound like their city. It's just Thriller sounds like LA. Bad and Dangerous sound like LA. History to me sounds like New York. It's got a different energy to it. It's a very different kind of sound. It's a New York sound. So let's. I pulled my history album out, my big vinyl, and just for fun, I want to kind of go through a couple songs. I have absolutely nothing written down. This is totally off the top of my head, but I thought I might just share a couple things with you. Obviously, the first CD or disc is the best of, and that was going to be the Decade album from before. But we never made Decade. We wound up doing the Dangerous album. So History was going to be another Decade-style album with a handful of new songs, and then mostly Billie Jean and She's Out of My Life and all that stuff. But the songs kept getting better and better and better. And I'm not trying to take credit, but a number of us, but including me, went to Michael and said, you really need to make this a double album. And that's what happened. So it became a double album. So you go through the songs. You've got Scream, the Janet Michael. Michael been wanting to do something with Janet for a while. And even on the Dangerous album, we had a couple ideas that we kind of kicked around, but nothing ever really happened. So Scream, the saying, the album opens up with a scream and ends with a smile. So Michael had a lot to say on this album. After that, They Don't Care About Us. That song just seems to carry more and more meaning as time goes on. It's amazing that he wrote and recorded that song 25 years ago. That's still a pretty powerful anthem in 2020. Stranger in Moscow. Stranger in Moscow that's the Brad Buxer song. And that's the first song that I really heard from the History album when we set up in New York. Buxer came in and played it for me, and I had Bruce Swedeen on the phone. We called him, and I said, "You're gonna melt when you hear this song." It ranks as one of my all-time favorite MJ songs. This time around, obviously a bit more of a street sound, a New York sound, bringing Biggie in, and very much more of an urban sound, I think, than Michael had done before. Earth Song we started years earlier. That song went through many variations, I guess you'd say, versions, and again, it was a Bill Bottrell song, and then David Foster got involved, and the song just got bigger and bigger, to the point where we had the New York Philharmonic come in and play on it, and it's a pretty amazing song. DS, anybody that knows anything about Michael and the stuff he'd been through, in the previous couple of years. DS was one way of him getting some stuff off his chest, so to speak, to use an American expression, and he just wanted to, kind of cry for justice just a little bit. Money, another song that has many layers of depth about his frustration with people really going after his money for a lot of different reasons. Sure. After Money, you've got Come Together. A lot of people are kind of confused how Come Together even got on this record. It doesn't really sound like the rest of the album. And I don't pretend to know everything about what happened in the meetings, with Bruce and Michael and different people. But we did come together during the Moonwalker project, which was towards the end of the Bad album and after the Bad album. It was a song that was done with Bill Bottrell, and it was done at the exact same time as Streetwalker. So if you go back and you listen to especially the earlier versions of Streetwalker and Come Together, to me, they're kind of sisters. They're kind of connected somehow. You Are Not Alone. That's obviously the R. Kelly song. That was probably the most difficult song that we did. It's hard to explain, but the song was done. We flew the Andre Crouch Choir out from L.A., and the song was essentially done. And I guess it was Michael who said, can we modulate the choruses? So what that means is kind of like Man in the Mirror, where the chorus builds and builds and starts going up in key. He wanted a couple key changes in the out choruses of You Are Not Alone. So we actually did the entire thing electronically. So I think you'll hear, if you listen to it, I think there's it goes up 2 steps through the song with the choir and everything. And we did that all electronically. Now, for you guys that know much about home studios, and we didn't have the type of technology in a laptop that you do now. We did this old school with, there was a pitch changing device called the Publison, and we rented every Publison on the East Coast, and for real, we just had racks of Publisons, and bit by bit by bit we built those key changes. Underneath all of the technology, it's just a gorgeous song, and it's unfortunate that R. Kelly, who's done some really creepy things, is kind of associated with it, because it should stand on its own 2 feet, and but there's that little bit of association between You Are Not Alone and R. Kelly. But I still think it's one of the prettiest songs, and one of the songs of the most depth on this album. In fact, it's kind of funny. As I do these seminars, I've gotten to meet MJ fans through the years, and there's a handful of songs that just reach out and touch people in a very deep way that I really wasn't aware of when we were working on the albums. But obviously, Will You Be There and You Are Not Alone are 2 of the, what I would say, more powerful songs that Michael recorded. Childhood. Childhood was obviously a song that Michael really wanted to do. Most people know this story, that we were recording the New York Philharmonic at Hit Factory Studio 1, and Michael wanted to sing a live song, and he wanted to sing with an orchestra. So he actually came into the studio. We didn't tell the orchestra it was going to happen. David Foster played piano, and Michael sang a couple takes of Childhood. I don't think we wound up using any of those takes. There's kind of this these wives' tales that that's the vocal that Michael sang that live. No, I mean, if we're true, I would tell you, but it's not true. We did it. We recorded them. We may have used a couple snippets, but I don't think so. He wound up re-recording all the vocals in downstairs in Studio 3, I think it was. Then we have Tabloid Junkie. Tabloid Junkie, I always kind of call that the Matt Forger song, because Matt's in the very beginning of it. In the news today. Tabloid it's not one of my favorite songs. Not the lyrics so much. It's just, I don't think it doesn't really, it's just not one of my favorite grooves. Other people, man, they love Tabloid. So who am I to judge? I mean, I'm some white kid from California. So different, different styles, different approaches just work for different people. After that, you've got Too Bad. Too Bad is one of my favorite songs. That one, obviously, there was ghosts and all of the different. There's so many versions of Ghost and Is It Scary and Too Bad. I mean, all that stuff is kind of sewn together, and Michael had all these really cool ideas, which of course culminated into the movie Ghosts. And we did a whole seminar on that a few years ago, talking about just that movie and why people like it or don't like it, or but all that said, that's a great song. Too Bad. History to me is one of kind of the unsung heroes of this album. It musically, it's a really brilliant song. There's things that happen in that song on a musical level that I really like. It was never really meant to be a single, but I think it was an important song that Michael wanted to do. It just covers a lot of ground. One of the things, as you listen to that song, you'll hear a lot of voices, saying dates. The man that walked on the moon, different things. One of them is Walt Disney's birthday. Well, Michael, instead of hiring a bunch of actors, which we had done from time to time, he really wanted to use the crew. He wanted the people that worked on that album to participate. And so, for example, Walt Disney's birthday is me. So they brought each of us into the studio and set up a little mic for us, and Michael let us each have a date of something that had historical significance. Yeah. Okay, next comes Little Susie. Little Susie it's a dark, beautiful song. People have their own theories. My understanding is that Little Susie is about a girl that went through the Holocaust and died in the Holocaust. And you've got the sunrise, sunset from it's kind of the opening notes of that song. And we did a lot of sound effects in that song. A lot of work went into that song. In fact, sometimes I'll tell people, if you really want to hear the History album, listen to side 2 or the second half of it without stopping. Don't pause. Don't play it out of order. You really need to hear how these songs, one flows into another. And Little Susie, it's a heavy song, but Michael does an amazing vocal on it, and it's beautiful. And of course, that brings you to Smile. The album opens with Scream and ends with a smile. Michael got a lot off his chest, and now it's time for him to take a breath. And so Smile, of course, was Michael's favorite song, written by Charlie Chaplin. And again, we may have done a live vocal on Smile, but we wound up, doing it more traditionally. Beautiful song. Obviously, Michael poured his heart and soul not just into that song, but into this whole album. So it means a lot to me that you guys still love this album and appreciate it. It was a labor of love from a lot of people. I've kind of shown pictures. You can find them on my website, but it was a small crew that really stayed with Michael for a long time. And Bruce was with Michael all the way back to The Wiz, and Quincy was there for a short time. Quincy, of course, didn't work on this record, but you're going to see a lot of the same musicians, engineers, a lot of the same people stayed with Michael for a long time because we love the guy. And he had an ability, a gift that really goes beyond description. So get back to your event. Sorry for taking up so much time, but I just wanted to spend a few minutes with my Swiss friends, and maybe there's some Germans there. I don't know. But have a great night, and I will talk to you soon. All right. Take care.